Hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you for checking out my latest Marksman Hunter guide, this time for patch 11.2, The Ghosts of Koresh. In this video, I'll give you all the information you need to get the most out of your Marksman Hunter in the Mana Forge Omega raid, and also for Season 3 of Mythic Plus for both Dark Ranger and Sentinel. This is the perfect time to return to the Marksman spec or try it for the first time. So, let's get started.
Mr. Eggplant presents.
So like with all YouTube guides, inevitably some information will change, and I will keep this guide updated down in the pinned comment and the description of the video. While you're down there, you can also find the timestamps if you're looking for a certain section. There's also a link to join my Discord. I would encourage you guys to join and hang out. It's a very helpful and positive community where you can ask all of your questions and share your in-game progress. We love to celebrate your successes, whether that be a new mount, a pet tame, or even getting Keystone Hero for the first time. And speaking of pets, I have a section to share photos of your IRL pets, which is probably my favorite part, and there's also a section to download all of the weak auras and macros you'll see me use throughout this video. Now that that's all out of the way, let's look and see what's changed in 11.2. So what's new in 11.2? This will be a brief overview with more detail on each of the other sections. So Marksman has several abilities in our main tree that have changed locations or are now choice node options, like Calling the Shots, Multi-Shot, and Small Game Hunter. We've lost a few talents, but also gained some as well. Talents we lost include Killer Mark and Quick Draw, and one big addition to this tier is the reintroduction of light ammo, giving us the opportunity to cleave on up to 8 total targets. Both hero talent builds saw quality of life upgrades, with Dark Ranger AOE being easier to understand and excel with thanks to buffs to Phantom Pain, the option to talent into Salvo, and a more defined role for Black Arrow that can proc trick shots, if talented of course. And for Sentinel, Rapid Fire automatically coming off cooldown once you can drop your Lunar Storm with it. No more waiting around for up to 20 seconds to drop Lunar Storm because you casted Rapid Fire 2 seconds too early. Plus, we have Season 2's tier set interaction available in our talent trees here in Season 3. It's not as strong as it was with the tier set, but now it's not fishing for procs and you can guarantee it with the updated Shrapnel Shot talent. In 11.1.7 we saw the introduction of the D.I.S.C Belt, and in 11.2 we'll have another borrowed power item, which will be the Reshii Wraps, a cloak that will grow stronger throughout the tier, capping at a 730 item level, which is higher than Mythic Loot, and will be a requirement to complete the Mana Forged Omega raid. For Marksman Hunter, the cloak will do direct damage to our enemies that only gets stronger when the target is below 35% health. There's so much more to talk about, but we'll save it for the other sections. For now, we'll move on to the next section of my guide, where we'll talk about another big addition for 11.2, hero talent specific tier set bonuses. Typically, tier set bonuses don't appear this early in my Marksman Hunter guides, but since it's a staple and something new in 11.2, we moved it near the top. So starting in 11.2, we have the option of 2 different tier sets based on what hero talent build we're using. When we're playing Dark Ranger, the tier set bonuses are as follows. Our 2 set bonus increases our Black Arrow damage by 10%, Bleak Powder damage by 20%, and lowers the base cooldown of True Shot by 30 seconds. And the 4 set increases our Withering Fire's Black Arrow damage, which we get Withering Fire during True Shot, by 50%, and Consuming Death Blow at any time in or out of True Shot has a 50% chance to cause all Black Arrow barrages during your next True Shot to fire an additional Black Arrow. These tend to be rather straightforward though, and boring compared to our Sentinel counterparts bonus. And speaking of those bonuses, the tier set for Sentinel reads as follows. The 2 set will cause our Rapid Fire to increase its damage by 25%, and when Lunar Storm fades, we gain Boon of a Loon, causing our next 2 aim shots to do 10% increased damage and deal arcane damage instead of physical damage. This will be great for dealing extra damage against targets with increasing armor levels, like raid bosses. And then the 4 set doubles down on the Boon of a Loon playstyle and makes it even better. Our 4 set increases Sentinel damage by 18% and also gives us Boon of a Loon for the entire duration of True Shot for 100% value. This allows our burst to be insanely strong even in single target for Sentinel, something that it lacked compared to Dark Ranger in previous seasons. I'll have a weak aura available in my Discord if you want to track your Boon of a Loon buffs and Lunar Storm availability. As for the item slots themselves, both Dark Ranger and Sentinel will want to pick up the chest, helm, legs, and shoulder tier pieces. The gloves are an optional pick because they don't have optimal stats. This is a prime slot for a crafted pair of gloves with your Dawn thread lining embellishment because of the loss of the cloak slot option thanks to the Reshii Wraps. And now onto our talents. This section is going to be all about our talent builds, and I'm going to try to keep this video as uniform as possible, meaning that I'll always go Dark Ranger and then Sentinel, always go single target, then AoE. And all of these build strings will be found down in the description of the video, and they will largely ignore the left side of the tree or the general hunter tree. As long as you're picking your damaging abilities and defensives, everything else is either filling out the tree or are situational picks based on the content that you're doing. So first up is Dark Ranger single target, and again I'm going to ignore the left side of the tree, but in the middle for single target you're going to want to run with Ebon Bowstring. We're going to switch that for AoE, but Ebon Bowstring, and then since we did see quite a bit of a nerf to Shadow Hounds, in fact it only procs half as much as it used to, we're going to be running with Soul Drinker for both single target and AoE. And over on the right side of the tree, so you'll notice that this is very similar to what we've been running with in Season 2. The only change really is down here below, and now we have the option to pick up double tap as well. We forego running with precision detonation at all since we don't have to deal with our 2-set bonus anymore. And then there are a couple of flex picks in this tree. That could be either target acquisition, you could move that over here to no scope for example, but we do a really good job of getting enough precise shots procs throughout our build, so I forego that and put that over here in target acquisition, which will help us get more aim shots out during an encounter. And then technically speaking, the unerring vision and calling the shots are choice nodes. I'm going to pick unerring vision even though I don't have my 2 or 4 set yet for Season 3, but you will see a lot more play of calling the shots, kind of like I said early on in my PTR videos, that you will see a time where you're running with calling the shots, but once you get your tier set, you'll be running with unerring vision once again, but I'm just going to run with unerring vision the whole time. Next up is the Dark Ranger AoE or Mythic Plus build, and the string for this build will be found down in the description of the video. So we're going to run with Phantom Pain over Ebon Bowstring and still run with Soul Drinker. And Phantom Pain saw a huge quality of life update here in 11.2. They made it so much easier to proc, so much so that it's actually one of your top damaging abilities, either usually 3rd or 4th on the damage meter. And then over here on the right side, so this is a single target build that just happens to cleave. So to make it cleave, we removed that point in the rhythm and moved it over here to trick shots, and then we augmented trick shots further with light ammo. Now, light ammo in itself is a flex pick, meaning that if your group is not consistently pulling 7, 8, or more targets, it's really not worth running. So if that is the case for you, you would put that point almost anywhere else, either precision detonation, target acquisition, which is my personal pick, no scope, or back into in the rhythm. And then one of the big changes is between calling the shots and unerring vision. With the implementation of your 2-set bonus, Dark Ranger's cooldown of True Shot immediately goes from 2 minutes to 1 minute 30 seconds, and then calling the shots can lower it by a further 30 seconds, making your main cooldown a 1 minute cooldown. It's between that and just making it hit harder and being a 1 minute 30 second cooldown. It would really kind of depend on if you had a trinket that would line up with that or not. I don't really think there is. There was in Season 2, but not really here in Season 3. But I'm opting to run with unerring vision. I have to be a little bit more careful when I'm using my True Shot, but it's going to do so much more damage, and thanks to the amount of crit that we have in our build, and with the implementation of 1 point's worth of bullseye, once you get that fully stacked up, you can be critting 100% of the time when you have your True Shot up. Absolutely nutty. And then this build did opt to run with volley. It's just easier for your average player to do damage, and it gives you that full 6 seconds of trick shots. But this in itself is a flex pick as well. I may move away from it in the future because I really don't like volley, but for now, volley keeps its place in my build. But again, this build could change, and it most likely will change, and if that is the case, I will put an updated string and a comment down below in the description. And moving to the Sentinel side of things, let's take a look at the single target talent build. So in the middle of the tree for both single target and AoE, you're going to run with Sentinel Watch, which basically lowers the cooldown of your True Shot by 15 seconds in total, but you will run with Crescent Steel in single target. And then on the right side of the tree, this is a single target build, much like what Dark Ranger looked like. There is a few exceptions. I removed the point in the rhythm, and then I did end up moving it over here to no scope. So So in this build, the goal is to get down here to Windrunner Quiver, and then augment your bullseye stacks with incendiary ammunition, and to pick up the re-added double tap, or at least I should say more easily accessible double tap. That's a better way to say that. Still running with unerring vision, and then this build does opt to run with bullseye. Single target damage is something that Sentinel struggles with. So to help with that, if you can get a well-timed true shot during the beginning of the pull, which I hope so, but also at the end, once you have all these bullseye stacks going, you'll have upwards of 70 to 80% chance to crit with your abilities. And then if you have unerring vision, you are going to be near 100% chance to crit, and that's going to help you move up the charts and make you arguably the strongest of all of the execute classes, other than maybe Dark Ranger itself. And last but not least, we have arguably my favorite of these 4 builds, which is AOE or Mythic Plus Sentinel. So in the middle of the tree, you will pick up Overwatch over Crescent Steel, and on the right side, so this isn't a single target cleave build like Dark Ranger is, it's pure, like, balls to the wall, crazy, explosive shot laden AOE damage, and I am here for it. So this build does have your staples like Salvo, for example. It does have the addition of double tap, but what it also has is the updated trifecta of precision detonation, magnetic gunpowder, and shrapnel shot. This update to shrapnel shot is great because it also helps you in single target by giving you free instant lock and loads, which is something that Sentinel will really need help with in its AOE form in Mythic Plus, for example. So it does opt to run bullseye as well. That way, once you get into execute range on a boss, you will be doing all the damage. So you really want to prioritize making sure that you have true shot up for boss pulls, and also make sure you have true shot up for the execute phase when you're stacking up those bullseye stacks, and you'll have basically a 100% chance to crit. And now that we have our talent builds, onto our stat priorities, and they're both very similar, and we'll start off with Dark Ranger. So you're going to stack crit up to diminished returns, and then start dumping into haste, then mastery, and finally versatility. And then with Sentinel, we simply swap mastery and haste, so we'll still stack crit up to diminished returns, then into mastery, then haste, and finally versatility. But with both builds, if you're struggling to stay alive or you need to add some more survivability into your build based on the content that you're doing, feel free to add more versatility to your gear, and you'll survive a little bit longer. And pro tip, there's a great lightweight add-on that I use and I would suggest you download, which is called True Stat Values. It allows you to see how close you are to hitting diminished returns on each of your secondary stats. And if you do hit diminished returns on crit, it's not a huge deal. I just wouldn't go past the 10% DR threshold since we scale so well with crit. We're finally ready to do some damage, so let's get to the openers, and we'll start off with Dark Ranger single target. So put Hunter's Mark on the target pre-pull, and then pre-cast your aim shot with about 2 seconds left on the pull timer. Then go Rapid Fire, Black Arrow, True Shot, Aim Shot, Black Arrow, Aim Shot, Black Arrow or Arcane Shot depending on if you got a Death Blow proc or not, Rapid Fire, and so on. In the opener, you should have Black Arrow up most of the time, and you want to use it with precise shots up. But if you don't have it up and you need to spin those procs, use it on Arcane Shot. And keep in mind, all marksman openers can be varied based on if you get procs or not, so keep that in mind. At any point you could get a proc of Black Arrow, you should use it with precise shots, and if you get a proc of Rapid Fire like I do in the video, use it before you cast your next aim shot. And now onto the AOE or Mythic Plus opener. So use Black Arrow, then Rapid Fire, Explosive Shot, Volley, True Shot, Aim Shot, Black Arrow, Aim Shot, Multi-Shot, or Black Arrow depending on if you got a proc of Death Blow or not, Aim Shot, and so on. If you get a proc of Black Arrow and there's at least 3 targets, using it will give you Trick Shots and proc Bleak Powder's damage. And on big pulls, Bleak Powder and Phantom Pain is often your best abilities, and it's not even close. Sentinel is a more straightforward, less proc-based playstyle, like I talked about earlier, and its opener is no different. The goal is to place Lunar Storm under the target and keep them in it for the entire duration. We'll start off with putting Hunter's Mark on the target, pre-pull, and then pre-cast your aim shot with 2 seconds left or so on the pull timer. Then Rapid Fire to drop Lunar Storm, and then spend our Precise Shot proc on either Arcane Shot or Kill Shot, if we got the proc. If you have the choice, Kill Shot over Arcane Shot. From there, you'll use your True Shot, then Aimed, then Arcane or Kill Shot, Aim Shot, Arcane or Kill Shot, Rapid Fire, and so on until you're out of your True Shot window. And finally, the Sentinel AOE or Mythic Plus opener. So use Multi-Shot, then Rapid Fire to drop Lunar Storm, then Explosive Shot, then your first free lock and load aim shot, then Volley, which drops Salvo and then gives you your second free lock and load proc, so use that, then True Shot, then Multi-Shot, Aim Shot, Multi-Shot, Aim Shot, Multi-Shot, Rapid Fire, and so on. And if you do get a Rapid Fire proc during this, which you most likely will, use it in place of an aim shot in the rotation while you have trick shots up, like I do in the video example. So now that we've seen both openers for Dark Ranger, let's move on to the rotation priority in between burst windows. So first, use Black Arrow on cooldown, hopefully while you have Precise Shots up. Black Arrow does massive damage and you will get a ton of additional procs of it throughout an encounter thanks to Deathblow. From there we can use True Shot on cooldown and you can delay it a little bit for burn phases, for example. Use your Rapid Fire on cooldown, which will give you Streamline and apply Bulletstorm stacks to boost your next aim shot damage. And speaking of Streamline, you always want at least one stack of Streamline before you ever cast an aim shot. There are many ways to get stacks of Streamline, which includes Explosive Shot, spending Precise Shot procs, and using Rapid Fire. Use all of your Precise Shot procs because they lower the cast time of your aim shot, like I said, thanks to Streamline, and have a chance to add Spotter's Mark to the target, which will increase the damage of your next aim shot. Precise Shot procs can be spent by casting Arcane Shot or preferably Black Arrow. Then use your aim shot while you have at least one stack of Streamline, like I've been saying, and never let it cap out on charges. When you use your Explosive Shot, follow it up with your Lock and Load proc if you're talented into Shrapnel Shot. Thanks to Precision Detonation in our talents, use Explosive Shot, then Lock and Load proc for instant major damage. And finally, use your Steady Shot as needed as filler for focus regeneration and to lower the remaining cooldown of aim shot. And now on to the Dark Ranger AOE rotation priority. Dark Ranger AOE can be feast or famine and is very proc reliant thanks to Deathblow, but when you get said procs, the damage skyrockets. So first and foremost, always have your trick shots up. No trick shots equals low damage. Trick shots will allow you to cleave on up to 5 additional targets, or 7 if talented into light ammo, if you use multi-shot on 3 or more targets, when you drop your volley, which gives you a solid 6 seconds of trick shots, or hit 3 or more targets with bleak powder, thanks to updates in 11.2. From there, use your Black Arrow on cooldown. Try to hit 3 targets or more to proc Bleak Powder like I just said, and also Bleak Powder will spread your Black Arrow dot to those affected targets. Use your True Shot on cooldown. Try to have Streamline and Trick Shots up before you cast it, and then you'll have one of the best 6 or 8 target cleave skill sets in the game. Then we're going to use our Volley on cooldown, and it can apply Salvo if talented. Use your rapid fire on cooldown to give streamline, to stack up bullet storm, and give focus regeneration. Just be sure to have trick shots up first. And if talented into double tap, rapid fire is the preferred ability to cast with the buff over aim shot. And there's 2 abilities in our tree that will give us double tap, which will be volley and true shot. And like in single target, don't let your aim shot cap out on charges, have trick shots up before casting, and finally, use steady shot as needed for focus regeneration and to lower the remaining cooldown of aim shot. And now we'll switch gears back to Sentinel and start off with the single target rotation priority. The main difference with Sentinel will be maximizing your Lunar Storm uptime on the target as much as possible. 11.2 brought amazing quality of life to Sentinel, so as long as you're dropping Lunar Storm under the target's feet, we'll be ripping rapid fire on cooldown. And speaking of rapid fire, if it's dropping Lunar Storm, it is the most important ability in your kit, and the rotation reflects that. So use your rapid fire to drop Lunar Storm at the target's feet. Having high Lunar Storm uptime is vital to increase your damage as a Sentinel Marksman Hunter, not only because it does damage to the target, but it also increases your damage against the target by 10% or more with your tier set bonuses. And Lunar Storm is on a 30-second cooldown and can be tracked by a weak aura, like the one I have in my Discord. There is a link to the Discord down in the description of the video. Use your kill shot on cooldown, especially if you have a stack of precise shots in your single target build. Use your true shot on cooldown, and like with Dark Ranger, make sure you have at least 1 stack of streamline before using it. From here, use explosive shot on cooldown only if you are running with the updated shrapnel shot ability in 11.2. Otherwise, explosive shot moves way down the list and is usually right above steady shot. And when Lunar Storm isn't close to coming off of cooldown, this is where rapid fire normally goes, and I'll just say I'll use rapid fire on cooldown, which will give you streamline and apply bullet storm stacks to boost your aim shot damage. And speaking of streamline, you always want at least 1 stack of streamline before you use aim shot. There are so many ways to get stacks of streamline, which includes explosive shot, spending precise shot procs, and rapid fire. Use all of your precise shot procs because they lower the cast time of your aim shot thanks to streamline, and have a chance to add spotter's mark to the target, which increases the damage of your next aim shot. Precise shots can be spent by casting arcane shot or kill shot. And use your aim shot while you have at least 1 stack of streamline and never let it cap out on charges. And finally, use steady shot as needed for focus regeneration and to lower the remaining cooldown of aim shot. And keep in mind, if you are talented into double tap, you will want to make sure and double tap your rapid fire over aim shot. Finally, let's look at the rotation priority for Sentinel in AOE or in a Mythic Plus setting, and you'll find that explosive shot is much more a part of your damage with Sentinel than it is with Dark Ranger. So first, just like with Dark Ranger, always have trick shots up if you're going to cast an aim shot or a rapid fire. Trick shots will allow you to cleave on up to 5 additional targets, or 7 if talented into light ammo, if you use multi-shot on 3 or more targets, or use volley, which lasts a full 6 seconds and drops salvo in my build. From there, use your rapid fire to drop Lunar Storm at the target's feet. A weak aura or some sort of tracker is a must for this, but thanks to the changes in 11.2, at least rapid fire will come off of cooldown when Lunar Storm is available. Use your true shot on cooldown and try to have streamline and trick shots up before you cast it. This sets you up to immediately start your burst window, and you'll want to set up the burst before you use your ability. Use your volley on cooldown, and it will also apply salvo in my build, and you can use aim shot on those salvoed explosive shots for additional precision detonation. I use explosive shot on cooldown since I run with magnetic gunpowder and have trick shots up first, so you can follow the explosive shot up with an aim shot that will cleave and detonate early. If you happen to have explosive shot and a banked lock and load proc, use explosive shot then lock and load. And with the changes in 11.2 and to shrapnel shot in particular, you can always guarantee that you'll have said banked lock and load proc. So whenever you cast your explosive shot, you'll want to have trick shots up first and then follow it up with the lock and load for explosive damage. Then use your rapid fire on cooldown just to give you streamline, to stack up bullet storm, and give you focus regeneration. Just be sure to have trick shots up first. And in 11.2, our double tap is back, so that means that whenever you use your true shot or you use your volley, you will gain double tap if talented. And like in single target, don't let your aim shot cap out on charges, have trick shots up before casting it, and if you just use explosive shot, follow it up with aim shot. For the first time in almost ever, steady shot isn't last. So use your steady shot as needed for focus regeneration and to lower the remaining cooldown of aim shot. And finally, I only use kill shot in AoE if the pack is almost dead and you don't think you can get another aim shot off before an enemy dies. And then one last thing to talk about double tap. If you have the option, you want to double tap your rapid fire instead of your aim shot. And I did want to mention two really strong items and how you want to use your sparks early on in Season 3. So those two really strong items are both trinkets, and it's a Raz Ritual Forge, which is a 2-minute on-use trinket, and the Astral Antenna, which is a stacking crit trinket. Both come from Raid. They are by far the strongest two trinkets we have here in Season 3, but you also want to think about how you're spending your sparks. I will be saving that first full spark and the subsequent half sparks I get for the next 2 weeks to create the POW ×2 gun at a mythic item level ready for week 4. However, if I do end up getting a weapon from my vault at Myth Track, I will forego crafting the weapon and I'll go right into my other two crafts, which will be my wrists and gloves, both from leatherworking. And those I want to get up to mythic item levels, and they will house my embellishments for the rest of the expansion. And hopefully, if you get that weapon, you get the Yazam the Riftbreaker, which is from Tazavesh Solia's Gambit. And now onto our lovely D.I.S.C Belt. So one of our carryover items from Season 2 is the D.I.S.C Belt, a borrowed power item introduced with Charged Delves in 11.1.7. The D.I.S.C Belt doesn't have any secondary stats, but it does have a powerful Titan D.I.S.C option that can be unlocked. Luckily for us as a marksman hunter, regardless of hero talents, the choice is simple: Critical Chain. Critical Chain is a Titan D.I.S.C that causes your spells and abilities to have a chance to proc a stacking amount of crit for every 2 seconds for 20 seconds. To get this Titan D.I.S.C, you'll need to complete the Skittering Breach Delve and Howlfall. It doesn't need to be overcharged or bountiful, and you can get it in the final chest for completing the delve on any tier difficulty. It's not a 100% chance to drop as of 11.1.7, but you should be able to get it quickly once you start. This belt is designed, unless they nerf it, to be replaced by a maxed out hero track or mythic track belt in Season 3. And then with overcharged delves going away in Season 3, I'll have to update this on where you can actually pick up the belt in 11.2 if you don't have it on your characters already. And I will update that down near the top of the description box, since that was not available, for at least for me. And speaking of borrowed power, we have the Rathian Legendary the Reshii Wraps. The second and main borrowed power item we have in 11.2 is the Reshii Wraps, a new cloak modeled after the Ethereal's classic garb. This upgradable cloak will be unlocked early on in the patch, as early as week 1 through the 11.2 questline, and has a maxed out item level of 727, and renowned tracks in the raid will make it stronger over time. These wraps have 3 different effects depending on your role, and for us as a marksman hunter, or just DPS in general, they'll proc Ethereal Reaping, which deals direct damage to enemies, increasing in strength when the target is below 35% health. This effect's proc rate, which is a base 2 procs per minute, can be boosted with boots from the raid and defensively augmented further by a ring from the final boss. The Haste over Mastery boots, the Interloper's Chain boots, are dropped from the optional Soul Hunter's Encounter, and the Heavy Haste over Crit ring, the Band of Shattered Soul, drops from Dimensius itself. This ring may be situational outside of the raid, but it does reduce the cosmic damage taken by the bearer while under the effects of Ethereal Reaping. Lastly, the wraps do not have a secondary stat, but it does come with a fiber socket, where pure fibers are crafted by tailors and can be inserted of any of the 4 secondary options. For marksman hunters, you'll want to choose pure precise fiber, and that gives crit. And to put the finishing touches on our builds, we have our consumables and enchants. For my Algari Diamond, I'll use either Culminating or Elusive Blasphemite. For my gems, I will get all 5 different colors and then dump the rest into Masterful Rubies. Great options for each of the other colors would be Deadly Onyx, Sapphire, Emerald, and Amber. For food, I pick Beladar's Bounty. For my weapon oil, I pick Algari Mana Oil. For my flask, I use the Flask of Alchemical Chaos. For my combat potion, I use Tempered Potion. And for my health potion, I use the brand new Invigorating Health Potion, and for all consumables and enchants, you'll want to use rank 3 of each. And thanks to our great critical strike scaling, there's finally a shakeup with some of our enchants, most notably with our weapon, which is now enchanted with Council's Guile instead of Authority of Radiant Power, like in previous seasons. For our chest enchant, we have the option of either Crystalline Radiance or Storm Rider's Agility. And hear me out. Crystalline does give more main stat, but at this point in the expansion, the extra movement speed that Storm Rider's Agility gives may make a bigger impact on you than the difference of 225 agility. For your cloak, put on Chant of Winged Grace, and for your legs, use a Stormbound Armor Kit. For boots, use Scout's March, and for your bracers, either Chant of Armored Leech or Chant of Armored Speed. For your rings, a Radiant something. I have on the screen Radiant Critical Strike, but if that's going to push you too deep into diminished returns, you're better off putting that into Mastery. And before I forget, the 2 embellishments that you'll want to run on your Marksman Hunter will be Dawn Thread Lining ×2 through crafting. I would suggest putting that on your bracers and your gloves. And now on to the final section, and usually the most popular, which is all about the weak auras and macros I use on my Marksman Hunter. They're all very basic, but they add a ton of quality of life to my play. They all track buffs from True Shot to Aspect of the Turtle, how long I have Trick Shots up for, when my volley's about to end, if my next Rapid Fire will drop Lunar Storm, or heck, even if I have Precise Shots up and ready to go. Even the health and focus bar in the middle of my screen are weak auras. The best part is, once they're imported, you can freely move them and change their size to your liking. The number one question I get is, can you send me your weak auras? I can, and I would love to, but the import strings are far too long for YouTube comments. So what I've been doing for the last 2 expansions is to add them to a freely downloadable text file found in my Discord. There's a section dedicated to just the text file and the accompanying video on how to manually import them into your own weak auras. If there are any weak auras that you'd like to see made that aren't on the file, please let me know and I'll do my best to get them added. The second section of the file also has the macros I use. They're also very basic, but the main one is that you want to add, if you haven't already, is a no channel macro to most of your abilities so you don't clip your rapid fire. And just like with my weak auras, if you'd like to see other macros, let me know and I'll see what I can come up with. Just because I don't use them doesn't mean others won't, and the goal is always to help as many people as possible. And if you're interested in my UI string, it's also there, but do keep in mind you have to use Bartender in addition to the import string. And just like that, we've made it to the end of another guide. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for continuing to support me here on YouTube. This is such an amazing hobby, and I couldn't do it without viewers like you. And speaking of YouTube, I think this is 5 expansions now where of making Marksman Hunter content on the platform. Time flies when you're having fun, and I'm kind of getting old. Anyway, these videos take a lot of time for me to make and research, and I would love your feedback. I do my best to make content that you guys want to see here and get value from on YouTube. So, what did you like? What didn't you like? How can I share information differently that makes more sense to the average player or a new player, which is my ultimate goal? I'll most likely have another updated guide in 11.2.5, but I'm really looking forward to player housing later this year and the Midnight expansion early next year. But that's it for me. I've got to reply to some comments about the recent Marksman Hunter nerfs, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.